Hello, this is Basketball Brett, making my third ever video on this channel. It's been like over a year since I actually made a video. I talked about why I don't think LeBron can surpass Jordan as the greatest player of all time. And then I just had a channel introduction. But I'm here today to cover my predictions for the 2018 NBA playoffs. I want to go through each round, say the number of games so the team I think that's going to win, the number of games they're going to win in, and why I think that is. The playoffs start tomorrow, which is Saturday. Regular season ended on Wednesday. So yeah, I've been looking forward to the playoffs for months. The regular season was getting a little boring to me. Of course, there's always a lot happening, but yeah, I've been ready for the playoffs. So we'll start off with, in the first round, Raptors versus Wizards. So the Raptors, I guess people have been hyping them up a lot. Kind of think that some people think that they're the team that could take down Cleveland. But in my opinion, I definitely don't see that happening. I remember last year, a lot of people were saying the same stuff, like, oh, I don't know about Cleveland this year. They might not make it. And then as soon as the playoffs started, they turned on and almost won 12-0. And they just lost one game to Boston. And every year, Toronto's a team people talk about as one of the teams that could beat Cleveland or that could get to the top of the East. And this year, the hype's been there once again, and I think there's going to be the same result, but we'll get to that later. And the Wizards, I don't think they're doing much. I think that they've been a little disjointed. I know John Wall's back, but for this one I said Raptors in 4. I think the Raptors are going to get off to a hot start at least. I wanted to say in 5 because I know they almost always lose game 1, but I think that they're pretty much just going to make easy work of the Wizards. I don't really think the Wizards are going to do much as far as the playoffs go. The Raptors still have a solid team. I mean, I don't think it's any kind of team that has a chance of making the finals, but, DeRozan, Lowry, Ibaka, Valanciunas, I'm not sure how to say his name. But, yeah, I'm not sure the Wizards are going to contend with that team, even though they were kind of a contender last year. But I think as far as this year goes, I would say Raptors in 4. Okay, so after that, it's Celtics versus Bucks. Obviously, the Celtics are missing Kyrie Irving and Gordon Hayward. The Celtics are my favorite team. I live in Connecticut, so I guess that makes sense because I'm nearby Massachusetts. And the Bucks, they're actually a pretty loaded team, I think. They have Antetokounmpo, I think. Everyone has their own pronunciation of his name, so that's mine. I think that's pretty close to right, at least. And they traded and got Eric Bledsoe during the season. They have Chris Middleton. They just have a solid group. And with the Celtics being injured, the Celtics were favorited to reach the conference finals and play against the Cavs. But with the injuries they have, I don't see that happening. Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown, they're good players, and Celtics are actually a deep team, so they have a lot of guys who have stepped up, like Markieff Morris, Terry Rozier. So the Celtics are still a solid team. So what my prediction is for this one is Bucks in 6, because I think the Celtics are still going to kind of contend. They're going to make it a series, even without their 2 best players, because I think they're a very solid team, that they'll have a shot at the championship next year. But as far as this year goes, I definitely think the Bucks are probably going to take that. So then there's 76ers versus Heat, and I'm actually going to Game 3 of this series because my family, we're going to Florida this upcoming week, and we bought tickets to Game 3. And Game 3 is actually the game I think the Heat could possibly take, so I guess I'm hoping I'm going to be at their home game. I'm hoping that they can take that one because that would be, create a fun energy for the game I'm going to. But I'm saying 76ers in 5. So, yeah, I don't think the Heat really have what it takes to match up with the 76ers. Probably whether or not Embiid's back. If Embiid's back, then it would be even worse for the Heat. But I give the Heat a game. I think they're a decent team. And I'm a little biased because I kind of want them to win when I go to that Game 3. So then it's Cavaliers versus Pacers. And for that one, I said Cavaliers in 4, which is a little controversial. I've heard a lot of people debating this series. And again, it's the same thing as last year with the Cavaliers. I think when the playoffs start, they're just going to kind of destroy everyone. And the Pacers, maybe they're actually better with Oladipo than Paul George. Paul George is a lot more highly rated of a player than Oladipo. But yeah, I don't think that's a team that, like, when it comes to LeBron, like, really Oladipo is going to do much against LeBron. Like, I think the Cavaliers are going to come out wanting to make a statement to start the playoffs, and I don't think the Pacers are good enough of a team to really do anything against the Cavaliers, similar to last year. So I would just say the Cavaliers are going to sweep this one. And then I have Rockets versus Timberwolves. For that one, I have Rockets in 5. I've heard a few other people say Rockets in 5. There was an exciting game to end the regular season, Nuggets and Timberwolves, elimination game essentially. And the Timberwolves won that. I was kind of rooting for them to win that because I think they would be a more entertaining team in the playoffs with Cat and Jimmy Butler. But the Rockets are extremely loaded. They have James Harden, Chris Paul, Clint Capella, Eric Gordon, Trevor Ariza, Gerald Green. Like, they are extremely stacked. And we'll get to this later, but I think they have a very good chance to win the championship. I'm not going to say whether or not I think they're going to, but I think they have a very good chance, and it's the first time in recent years that a team other than the Cavaliers or Warriors have had a chance to win the championship. We could argue the Spurs had a chance last year, but once Kawhi went down, they didn't really. Speaking of the Spurs and the Warriors, the next series that we're going to talk about is Warriors versus Spurs, and obviously this one's interesting because it's all on Kevin Durant because Steph Curry's out for the first round, and Durant has to lead the team to victory. I think this is maybe the best matchup they could have gotten, the Spurs without Kawhi, because if you watched the conference finals last year, Aldridge, as far as I'm concerned, he really didn't step up in Kawhi's absence. Their team just seemed a little scrubby at that point. Of course, Popovich is an amazing coach, but when you're going against the most overstacked, unfair team of all time, of course, there's not much you can do. I'm not a Warriors fan, if you could have figured by what I just said. So I think the Warriors are just going to sweep the series. Yeah, even without Curry, I don't see it with the Spurs. I think, the Warriors have been losing a lot to end the regular season, but I'm sure they're going to step up, kind of like the Cavs, just to start the playoffs. And I don't think the Spurs are really going to have much for them. After that, I have Trailblazers versus Pelicans. This is kind of an interesting series versus two good young teams. And for this one, I said Blazers in 6 because I think the backcourt of the Pelicans really can't compare to having Damian Lillard and CJ McCollum. Of course, Anthony Davis, he's a monster, but I think he's kind of on an island when he doesn't have DeMarcus Cousins. I think he'll still make it just with Anthony Davis alone. He was obviously an MVP contender. I'm sure he'll make it a series, but Trailblazers are probably the all-around better team. They're another team that hasn't really been able to get anywhere in the playoffs the last few years. They're trying to make a push this year. And I think that the Pelicans that are a team they'll be able to beat. So after that, I have Thunder versus Jazz. And I think this is the best matchup the Thunder could have gotten. They had to win their last few games to get into the playoffs. Then they had an easy game, or they clinched a playoff spot in their second to last game. Then they had an easy game, the last game against the Grizzlies. So Westbrook was able to put up like a legendary all-time game. He had essentially 20 assists, 20 rebounds, and clinch a triple-double for the season. I'm a big fan of Westbrook. I think he plays with more heart than pretty much anybody, and a player like him is not common in this era. And I was afraid they'd have to go against the Rockets or the Warriors or even the Trailblazers. Thought that would be a lot of trouble for the Thunder in the first round. But they ended up going against the Jazz, which is a much easier opponent because obviously they're led by Donovan Mitchell, who's a rookie. And obviously the Jazz are still a good team, having gotten to the 3rd seed in the West. Or I think this is actually 4 seed versus 5 seed. But I'm saying Thunder in 6 for this one. I think these are guys on the Thunder who have a lot of playoff experience. They're veterans, Westbrook, Paul George, Melo. And I just don't see a team led by a rookie. No slight against Donovan Mitchell. I actually think he should probably be Rookie of the Year. We won't get into that. But I don't see that Jazz team really beating the Thunder. So Thunder kind of lucked out with this matchup, and I think they'll win in 6. So now we are on to the second round. Okay, so first matchup is Bucks versus 76ers, and I actually think if this happened, this would be one of the more exciting series in the playoffs. And everyone at this point has kind of figured that the 76ers have a pretty easy path to the conference finals, and they have probably a better chance than anyone to get there at this point. But I'm actually gonna mix it up a little bit. I think the Bucks are gonna win the series in 7. I think this has the potential to be a breakout playoffs for Antetokounmpo. I think he's probably going to go off. He has such an opportunity. He actually has a decent team, and he had a breakout season. I think he'll also have a breakout playoffs. I think the Bucks will win in 7 in a very exciting series. So yeah. After that, Cavaliers versus Raptors. We kind of already touched on this, but I think the Cavaliers will win in 5. It was similar last year, everyone thought the Raptors maybe will be the team that has a chance of beating the Cavs here. Like, the Cavs just ran through the Pacers, the Cavs actually have the same matchups this year as last year, most likely. So everyone thought the Raptors were the team that had a chance against the Cavs last year. The Cavs swept their ass up. It was just a joke, that series. And I think this series won't be much better. Maybe the Raptors do slightly better because they're a little more confident, but I don't see this being very competitive. Cavaliers in 5. After that, there's Thunder versus Rockets, which would be another good series. The Thunder, the problem is they're just a little too disjointed, and they don't really play well as a team, even though they have a lot of great individual players. They're with their big 3, or big 4, you could even say. The Rockets just have some amazing chemistry as a team. They were a 65-win team. And, yeah, I think when it comes down to it, it's hard to see the Thunder having an answer for the Rockets and all the threes they shoot and whatnot. This was also a series that took place last year. The teams were a little different. The Rockets didn't have Chris Paul, and Thunder didn't have Melo or Paul George. I gave the Thunder 2 games. Like I said, I'm a fan of Russell Westbrook, so I would like to think they could take 2 games against the Rockets. I think at that point it'd be a good playoff outing for them if they got to the second round and challenged the Rockets. But the Rockets have made themselves out to be a very high-level team at this point. I don't see them going down easily in these playoffs. I think they'll win that series in 6. So after that, there's Warriors versus Trailblazers. Yet another series that happened last year, interestingly enough. Is my computer good? Okay. So for this one, Curry will be back by this point. So that's going to make a big difference for the Warriors. I don't know if they'll have trouble reintegrating him at first or anything. But although the Trailblazers are good, we're talking about the Warriors here. And yeah, I'm saying Warriors in 5 because I'm just not sure about the Trailblazers. I can't tell if they're a team that's hype or if they're legit. They had a great, later in the season they were great. They got to the 3rd seed. But I still don't think they're going to have what it takes to beat the Warriors, similar to last year, because, it's going to take, obviously, a great team to really be able to challenge the Warriors. I'm just not sure the Blazers are there still yet. So now the conference finals. We're almost done here. So for the Eastern Conference, I have the Cavaliers versus the Bucks. Giannis versus LeBron, 2 physical freaks of nature. And I'd say Giannis is a little more so than LeBron. Obviously, when LeBron first came around, he was like something that had never been seen before. And now there's more guys who are even more athletically gifted than him, like Giannis, coming around. And I think that in the future of the NBA, it's going to be harder for guys who don't have those gifts to be as successful when they're playing against such guys who are like 7 feet tall and as fast and strong as Giannis. I said Cavaliers in 6 for this one. Like I said, this will be a great playoffs for Giannis Antetokounmpo, in my opinion. And I think he'll even challenge LeBron in the conference finals, which he would really make a name for himself by doing that if he won 2 games in that series. And I think that's what'll happen. But at the end of the day, obviously LeBron is going to win the East again because it's a bit of a cakewalk for him. There's not really any teams in the East that are going to compete against LeBron James in the playoffs. He ascends to the next level. Not like he hasn't been playing at an amazing level already in the regular season. But yeah, I think it'll be a pretty good series, but the Cavs will take that one. And then the Warriors versus Rockets. I think this could potentially be the most exciting series of the playoffs. The Rockets are the ones challenging the throne of the Warriors, trying to win the West. The Warriors have won the West the last 3 years. And the Rockets are really the only team that have a chance to do it. And I don't know if this is my bias coming into play with not being a Warriors fan, but what I said is that the Rockets are going to win this series in 7 games. What I'm hoping is that Harden finally shows up. He doesn't choke again. He comes up big in a Game 7 because as a lot of people have imagined, I think this series will go 7 games. I think it'll be a great one. The Warriors are probably still being nagged by their injuries. I think they'll still be able to get through the first and second round pretty much fine, but once it comes to the Rockets are absolutely legit. Like I said, they're incredibly stacked. And at least what I would like to see and what I think could happen is Rockets taking that series in 7 games. It might be a stretch if the Warriors actually get back on the same page and get healthy, but I think that the Rockets could potentially win. So the finals will be, in my opinion, the Cavaliers versus the Rockets. This will be something different. Really, I just don't want to see Warriors-Cavaliers again. A 4th year in a row I think would be a little boring. Especially after, the first 2 years, those series were amazing, but last year it was a little lackluster. I'm a little tired of Cavaliers versus Warriors, especially when the Cavaliers really don't seem to be able to stand a chance. It's just LeBron versus 4 All-Stars, so, there's Kevin Love, but is he even really an All-Star at this point? I know he was kind of the scapegoat when they were struggling earlier in the season. I don't think he was actually that bad, but anyway, so for Cavaliers versus Rockets, I think the Rockets are going to win 6. I'm sure LeBron will have another amazing finals. But I think, once again, with this Rockets team, as with the Warriors team, it's just going to be probably too much for him to contend with. It's just with Harden and Chris Paul and how well they've turned out to play together. I do, in fact, think that they are going to win the championship this year. So I'm fully buying into the Rockets. And LeBron, once again, is going to lose in the finals. Despite what I think he'll probably have an amazing performance because that's just run-of-the-mill for him to go off in the finals. But I think he'll be faced with too much, which is kind of a typical story we've seen, LeBron being in the finals and being amazing, but just having too much he's up against. I think that'll be the case this year, so I'm saying Rockets in 6. So yeah, I'm kind of tired of talking now. That's it for my 2018 NBA playoff predictions. You can leave a comment down below and let me know what you think is going to happen, how you think these playoffs are going to go. So yeah, peace out.